My name's Bobby J, and welcome back to the channel. If you've been following me, you're well aware of my 22 3500. If you're new to the channel, there she is. It's a 22 Dodge Ram 3500 chassis cab truck. And since finishing it, I've posted some pictures and whatnot on social media, and I've had quite a bit of interest, or I should say overwhelmingly, the one question has been, how do I organize my tools? What do I have on board? What's my setup? So that's what we're going to get into. What are you doing? What are you cutting on that for? It's a brand new bed. What? I'm cutting the door out so we can fit the cabinet in. What's the problem? Well, you can't just go cutting on that thing like that. How do you know that the gasket and everything's all going to fit back on there? You know, Northstar designed all that and engineered all that to work. How do you know what you're doing? Well, if we're going to get this cabinet right here to fit in there, we're going to have to cut that out. There's no way around it. We need a ½ inch of material taken off. This is a really bad idea. I'm going to have to supervise. Fine. You don't want me to do it? You want it? Fine. You know what? That's it. No, you do it. I'm out of here. Wait. Aren't you gonna, cabinet's not gonna install itself. Freaking guy. You know, if you want something done, you gotta do it yourself. But you know, now that the cabinets were the last thing, I can pretty much say that this truck is finally done. So now that this truck is finally done, I'm going to give you a rundown on what it was that I was looking specifically out of this truck. And the whole plan came before the truck, the bed, the tools, anything, was what do I want out of my next truck? And what I wanted was, I wanted a truck that had maybe a little bit more than the basics regarding tools. I didn't want a full-on service truck with a crane, a welder, all that. I have that in an F450, but the problem with that truck is it's heavy. It obviously cannot tow a gooseneck at all, no chance. It's more for full-on despair and repair type situation. So I wanted a truck that they had a little bit more than a basic setup that you would find on a flatbed on my 04 that you've seen, but also was really good for towing and hauling. That was probably maybe the number one, is it had to be able to pull goosenecks and bumper pull trailers, specifically goosenecks, really well. And the last thing is a truck that could still take the kids to school in the morning, pick them up in the afternoon, stop here, stop there, whatever, a little bit of daily driving too. And so I chose, with all those factors in, I chose a Dodge Ram 3500 chassis cab truck to 22. So the reason why I went with a 3500, I almost chose a 4500, but I chose a 3500 for a couple of things that I feel that it has an advantage over the 45 and the 5500. Now, if you need max weight, max carrying, payload capacity, max towing capacity, yeah, you need to probably be up into the bigger class 4 and 5 trucks. But if you're looking for a fantastic truck that can do, I'm gonna say it, 85% of what those trucks can do, but a truck that's maybe a little bit more manageable on the other side of things of daily driving, the 3500 is the ticket. First thing that I wanted a truck that could pull a gooseneck and do it well. I'm hauling equipment If you're following me, you already know this. I'm hauling equipment all the time during the growing season. Practically every day I'm hooked up to a gooseneck, either hauling water for spraying or moving that piece of equipment to get to the field to spray, plow, whatever. So it had to be a good performing towing truck. So this is where I chose the Norstar SD 60-inch bed. This is a new style bed, and I've been really happy with it so far. You got the low profile sides with the gooseneck well, and these cabinets, there's been no issues at all whatsoever. Long ways away from contacting any of the frames of the neck on the goosenecks. So being a hybrid type bed, of being a kind of a service bed, but it's not a service bed, but it's kind of like a hauler bed, but it's not a hauler bed. This bed does that bridge in between everything really well, and in a lot of ways I can't recommend this bed enough. I mean, especially for the money. Yes, this is a high production bed. Yes, you can find lots of complaints about CM and Northstar and Napide, and there's some cool boutique stuff out there, but some of that stuff is crazy expensive. For a production bed, for the money, this is hard to beat. This is a good unit. Outside of the gooseneck ball and the rear hitch on the back, probably the number one area that I go to first would be my Montezuma on the driver's side and this main cabinet right here. So what I've got going on is all my SAE stuff is right here. I've got my Harbor Freight impact sockets. I'm a firm believer in them. I've got multiple sets of them. I've been using them since I was a kid, and I've never broke one. I went with Case IH, hand tools for the most part. I'm a Case guy for the most part, and they are Blue Point in a Case wrapper. And I've been really happy with my Case dealer, and so it was a no-brainer to go with them. Been real happy with the screwdrivers, and so I've got my bit drivers, SAE bit drivers, my cord wrench, my ratchets. I like these Craftsman. I'm using these Craftsman adjustable head, swivel head ratchets. I mean, they're for the money. There again, I like that ratchet. Case IH hand wrenches. What I am missing is it's ordered, but it hasn't come in yet, which is the extension set from 1/16, 1/1/8, and 1 1/4. I'm waiting for them to come in. I got the 3 slots right here to drop them in on. The other thing that I purchased that I took a risk on is these puppies, ratcheting Icon wrenches, and they're extended length. I like to have a set of extended length wrenches. We'll see how they hold up. You know, yes, it's Harbor Freight, but it seems like they're not cheap either. It seems like it's actually a pretty decent product. You know, Harbor Freight's kind of got a few things now they're trying to really push that are a higher quality than what their past has, what they've had in the past, I would say. Got some Torx. I've got my punches in here, all my chisels and punches. I've got Allens in here, Craftsman Allens. I've got my hammers in here, a couple hammers. I keep my impact, my DeWalt cordless impact up here, impact driver. Instead of having it down with the rest of my DeWalt stuff, which you'll see in a second, I just keep it up here because it seems like I'm so often using it, you know, grabbing a socket and, you know, throwing it on the impact to buzz something on, off, or whatever. So I find that I just keep it up there is the best place for it. In here, I've got all my, there we go. I've got all my Irwin pliers. I'm an Irwin fan. Got some Nimpex in there. Got a couple odds ends in there. Got a small vice grip, you know, just odds and ends. Now down here, I will say this, I have had a difficult time gelling with these trays that Northstar gives with the bed. They've got some real expensive rollout cabinets that you can purchase with Northstar. I actually know a guy that has this bed with that upgrade, and he would not recommend it. They're small, they're narrow, and they're really expensive. I'm personally glad I don't have that now, but I will say, yeah, this has been a little bit trying to figure out what exactly how to organize this. But as you can see, I've got my aerosol cans and spray products, hand cleaner, Freon, all that stuff there, my drill bits, a small pipe wrench, and I've got my, you know, rags and cleaners and extra pairs of gloves and stuff up there. Down here, I've got my DeWalt rack that I built. I've got my big 1/2-inch impact. I use that a lot. I love that tool, which we're going to get into here in a few minutes regarding how that affects air on the truck. We got a, you know, cordless drill, cordless grinder, cordless circular saw back there tucked away in the bag. That's where I keep my batteries. You know, there's some extra space kind of up in there, but again, you know, trying to maximize, you're not going to get 100% maximization out of every square inch of your boxes, but, you know, you try to get as much as you can. That's kind of what I currently have for this setup. And in this little guy right here, which I'll back up, that's one thing that's unique about the Norstar SD, and I think looks pretty cool. These little angled cabinets on here, I don't know, it's like it just, that's the way it, they fit on there, and just like it's the way it should look. I don't know, that was a big selling point, to be honest with you, on this bed versus like the CM, or I think Napite also makes something similar to this bed. So in this little angle cabinet, I keep my coveralls in there. So far this seal has worked and kept everything dry. We've had a lot of rain here lately. They're dry, so real happy with that. It's actually kind of nice having a spot just for my coveralls. In here, these boxes, they're nice to have. As you can see, obviously I've got stuff in here, but they have been kind of a little bit of a challenge. The reason is these things are only 9 inches deep. That's it. And so it's amazing how much stuff. The very first thing before I even bought this, I thought, oh man, I'm gonna put my chainsaw in there, I'm gonna put my 1-inch gas water pump in there. Nah, none of that stuff fits. Everything's way taller than 9 inches. So what I have in here is I do have my leaf blower. I've got my shovel, I've got my high lift jack, I got my winch bar, I got a pry bar, I got my big 36-inch pipe wrench, I've got my Mac big set of pliers. That's what I have in here at the moment. Everything seems to ride right in here pretty darn good. I haven't had issues with anything wanting to slide towards the back or anything like that. Everything you see, that's where I put it, and it has in fact stayed there. Down here, I'm not completely sold on this, but there's my Honda 1-inch water pump. I use that thing a lot during the irrigation season to prime big 6-inch diesel water pumps, irrigation pumps. So like I said, I use that thing all the time, and I love that little pump. It's an expensive little critter, but at this point I can't hardly live without it. I can prime up big pumps so fast with that. I've got a couple oils. I got a gear oil, I've got an engine oil, and I'm gonna have to somehow squeeze a hydraulic bottle in there and a coolant bottle, antifreeze bottle in there, but I'll have to figure that out. Now this cabinet back here, I haven't found a good use for this. I originally thought that this was a lot deeper. I thought this would be perfect for shovels and whatnot. It only goes 36 inches is the depth on it, if I remember right. It's 36 inches. So again, I have not figured out what the heck I'm gonna put in here. I had thoughts of a slide out drawer, you know, something along those lines. Hey, if you got any suggestions, go ahead and comment below. I'm stumped on this one. Now moving along to the passenger side. Right now I've just got some tow straps, I've got some hitches and whatnot in this drawer, or this cabinet. Again, these two back cabinets I haven't completely dialed in. I'm not fully confident on this setup. I may change some stuff around, but for now that's how I've got it set up. Now this cabinet, I don't have much in this cabinet right now. This one's kind of like, I got my jumper cables stuffed up there, I've got my flags in here. This one here, I guess I'm just kind of going with it here on, you know, it never hurts to have some extra space. You know, you don't have to necessarily fill a truck up on day one or week one or whatever. I do have some room to do something with this, depending on what things change or what I add in the future. Now this little guy, on the passenger side, I keep my grease gun in there. And it looks like I need to get some more grease. I keep a couple cartridges in here too. Works out well right there. Up here in this Montezuma box, there's all my metric stuff. So I've got the SAE stuff on that side. I've got the metric stuff on this side. Why do I do that? The reason is on my 04, which you can see hanging out over there, I have a 30-inch Montezuma box, and that box has both SAE and metric. It's got everything in one Montezuma. And yes, you can cram it in. You can fit a lot in these boxes. I highly recommend them. I can't say enough good things about them. But I chose to split it up so that I would have more room, so that I could fit more tools in here between the two boxes as I, as my tool collection here on this truck continue to grow. But similar setup on the other side. We've got Case IH 1/4 inch, Case IH 3/8. We've got Case IH wrenches, same thing. Still waiting on good old COVID messing everything up. Still waiting on for Blue Point to get those manufactured. The extension set past 19 millimeter Harbor Freight impacts down here. This guy right here, this is both an SAE and metric bit socket set. So I've got pretty much everything I would need in both metric and SAE on hex sockets to get them out. Now, down here, I keep, I've got a couple of vice grips, Milwaukee vice grips. I've got my wire strippers, my wire pliers, Irwin vice grip on that. I've got my multimeter. So I kind of keep my electrical stuff over here on this side. I keep a crescent wrench over here on this side. I also have a crescent wrench on the other side because crescents are so handy. I just have one on both sides. Now, I keep my headlight. This thing is handy as you wouldn't believe, man. And then I've got my metric Allen wrenches right there. And then moving down, the reason why I keep my electrical over on the metric side is because I have all my electrical supplies on this side. So these Durham manufacturing drawers or cabinets, these are pretty cool. They're kind of handy. They're fairly sturdy. I've used them before in some other applications. I've been pretty happy with them. And I had to notch this out. As you saw in the beginning of the video, I had to notch this out, and I mean, you can't even hardly tell. I only had to take off, I didn't have to take off much on each side. And it only left me a small gap down here in the weather stripping. So what I carry here in my top drawer is all my electrical stuff, electrical tape. I got my Teflon tapes, both types, roller chain master links, P-clips, hose clamps. Got to have hose clamps. These are the things that I'm talking about regarding a truck that can do, maybe doesn't excel necessarily at one thing, but does a lot of things fairly well. This is something that is important to me in my operation, is stupid stuff happening in the field. A hose, we run a lot, I do a lot of spraying, so we got a lot of fluid moving. So hose clamps and that sort of thing is, I'm going to that all the time. We got self-tapping screws, we got wood screws, we got some metric machine screws, we got both metric and SAE grease certs, of course fuses, both big and small, mini and standard. I get into this stuff all the time in the field, trying to get something done, and 3 o'clock in the afternoon wanting to either get home, see the wife and kids, or got a storm on the way or whatever. I don't need to be stopping everything and having to go back to town to go find something to come all the way back in the field that was a simple fix. So I carry it with me. Down here, got 1/4 inch through 3/8 hardware over on this side. And then on this side, I've got my metric bolts over here. And I get my metric and SAE from 2 different suppliers because I like to have my metric stuff colored. These are actually John Deere brand, because John Deere loves their, they call them cap screws or carriage heads. and flange nuts. They love that stuff. I work on a lot of John Deere stuff, so I do keep that. But otherwise, I like to have my bolts and everything color coded. It makes it easy. It makes for, you know, not getting stuff mixed up back and forth. There is 1/2 inch to 3/4 bolts. Pretty self-explanatory. Pretty much everything I could need for the most part. Down here, this one isn't complete. This is, I'm working on have pipe fittings, both PVC and steel. I've got 1/8 inch and some quarter stuff there. I've got 1/2 inch and my 3/4. Got a couple of 2 inch couplers, and you know, got some extra, again, got some growing space right there. Got my PVC glue and my primer. Now, coming up to the back of the truck, this is my UWS toolbox and fuel tank combo. This is an 85-gallon fuel tank. It holds 80 gallons. There's 5 gallons sloshed around the bottom that the pump won't pick up. Fill right, 20-gallon per minute. I always buy the 20 gallons because time is important. I don't want to be sitting around waiting for a fuel pump to pump fuel. Let's pump that as fast as we can. Inside here, there's my air compressor setup right there. Now, I can't live without air. I have to have air. I see some guys that are going without air. I see that one reason is I suspect is guys that have a lot of tracked equipment. I find myself airing up tires all the time for the most part, between trailers, between tractors, whatever. I have a lot of stuff on rubber. I got to be able to air up a tire at the bare, that's the bare minimum. But I mean, hey, a flat tire that just needs air, it leaves you stranded. So this is also the smallest compressor that I've ever had on a truck. This is a little 5.5 CFM at 90 PSI, little roll air with, I think that's a GX 120 Honda, like a 4-horse. But you know what? It works. It will air up, you know, automotive and light truck tires. It'll air them up just fine. No problem. Now, where this little puppy kind of struggles, you start getting into some bigger agricultural tires. You're going to spend a couple, you know, you're going to spend a little extra time waiting for it to get it filled up. But at least I have a supply. I can get stuff aired up. The other thing is that I can't live without is being able to blow out radiators and filters. Got to be able to clean coolers and filters. So I've got my blow nozzle down there. I've got my 1/2 inch impact right there. I've got my air chuck, my hose reel. That's just a Merlin. What is that, a Merlin at Harbor Freight? You know, hose reels, Mastercraft, and Cox reels have gotten so expensive. I went with, this thing was on sale, I went with the Harbor Freight upgraded one. So we'll see how well it holds up. And then tucked away, since my chainsaw does not fit over there in that box into these, originally when I wanted to put them in those side boxes, so the chainsaw stays tucked away down there. And, you know, real quick, going back to the air, the reason why I feel like I'm going to be okay with getting away with a smaller compressor is because of what I mentioned about that 1/2 inch cordless DeWalt impact. My intentions are to lean heavily on that to you know, all my impact work that I need to do in the field. But I do have a backup. I do have my air impact if I need it, and I've got an extra cubby hole there for who knows what tool I might get that I think I need to have on this truck. I got a place to put it there. So there we go. That's that cabinet. 2 5/16 gooseneck ball. Got the plug is right there. That puppy is a 30,000 pound with a 6,000 pound pin weight. 30,000 gross trailer weight, 6,000 pound pin weight. And down here we got a class 5 2.5 inch receiver, and I've got an adjustable hitch. And next that I want to talk about is lighting, safety / lighting. If you are alongside the road a lot, if you're loading and unloading alongside the road, if you're moving heavy equipment down the road slowly, hauling oversized, odd loads, stuff like that, I'm preaching to the choir as far as me. That's what I'm doing. A light bar, I cannot recommend a light bar enough. Now, I went pretty extreme, maybe you could say, and I bought something pretty fancy, but I really like this light bar. It is super bright. It's got tons of LEDs. It's got tons of features in it. And also on the back of the Norstar SD are these work lights back here. These are pretty cool. And let me give you a demonstration. Moving to inside the cab here, I'll show you how I've got things set up. Now, I have my controller underneath the seat actually for the light. There it is right there. There's the SpeedTech lights light. That gives you into the you know, turn signal side, traffic directional control. And you can turn the rear of the light down, just the front, that sort of thing. Now, here's the thing is you don't need that stuff very often. 9 out of 10 times, you just need to have the whole emergency light on. So I've got it tapped into the upfitter switches in my truck. So auxiliary number 1 turns it on. And there we go. Nice and bright. And that, and like I said, I can't tell you how much that has helped me with getting traffic under control. I've had to block roads, moving heavy equipment, bridges. A lot of times I will block the traffic full on in heavy California traffic. I'll just block the whole road so that we can move a piece of equipment across the bridge. That gets people's attention. Plus a little bit of attitude, that helps for me. Next, I have my rear working and backup lights. The alley lights come on. The rear upper lights come on. And then there's my rear working lights on the bed itself. Those suckers are bright, man. It's like a stadium. When I have no trouble hooking up the trailers at nighttime with all that. And the last thing is auxiliary 3. That's the, I think I'm cool lights. I just kind of call them that, but those are they call cruise lights in the lights. And so they're not really a safety thing. They're just kind of there for fun. Make you so you can say, I think I'm cool. And I've got my Norstar SD bullet lights there. I added these 2 up here. Those do not come factory. I also added these 2 down here. Those don't come drilled from the factory. I like lots of lights. And then the last thing is I got my Super Trucker purple lights, if you can see up there. Again, same thing. Those are just for fun, but it gives kind of a cool appearance at nighttime. So the last thing I want to show you, my orange flags. I built these holders right here, and that is your full-on oversized load set up with flags and an emergency light. And so this truck can double as a pilot car when I have equipment to haul that is in fact too heavy for the pickup and we got to go to a lowboy and a semi. I have the ability to be a pilot car with this setup, and with what stuff costs these days, it's $95 an hour just for a guy in a pickup that has that setup. So it doesn't add up or doesn't take long to add up enough to pay for that light. Just a couple of times being able to be a pilot car to move a piece of heavy equipment. And so there's my setup. There it is, from tools to supplies to all the gigs that this truck needs to do between safety, support, and hauling the equipment itself. There's the whole get up. I appreciate you watching this video. If you like this, please subscribe and like, because there will be more content regarding cabin chassis type stuff. So if you want to be able to tune in and make sure you subscribe. Thank you for watching this. We'll see you on the next one.